The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual guests. If you're a sensitive snowflake that may get easily offended, then turn this off immediately. If you want to hear the real truth about the gun culture, then stick around. This is the Armed Citizen Podcast.
What's going on, my Ghost Squad? Welcome to the Armed Citizen Podcast Live. I think this is episode 152. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it's episode 152. We are live, as always, on YouTube. If you're out there live with us, welcome to the dark side. We hope we don't make your day any worse than it already is. We're going to try to maybe uplift, have a little fun, talk a little guns, talk a little whatever. But if you're out there in the live chat, go ahead and say hello. We don't know that you're out there unless you say something. If you're new to the channel, new to the show, make sure you let us know where you're from. We'll try to send you a shout out and all that jazz. If you're watching in replay or listening in podcast form, the conversation does not have to stop. Utilize that comment section and all that. If you're live and you want to ask a question to any of us on the panel, go ahead and tag one of us. We'll try to get to as many questions as we can. We can't guarantee we'll get to them all. And we're going to try to keep the questions that are somewhat on topic. We might have some fun at the end and answer some of the other ones, but we're going to try to do that. Or you can text or call into the show on the Ghost Tactical Hotline presented by our good friends Rod and Shelly Gates at the Gun Cleaners. You can call or text at 530-364-4678. So I think that they're out there, and yep, I just see Rod and Shelly out there. Said, "Sup, boys?" So they're good friends of all three of us in this room right now. We had Snob in here earlier, but he's having some technical difficulties. That Oklahoma internet is just, it is what it is. His internet in Oklahoma might have the corona, so we never know. But we got a couple more links out there. People might join in if they're able to. Some will have to work. I get it. But we're going to have a good talk tonight. Before we start talking about our topics, let's bring in our good friends from, I guess it's a great state. I don't know. I've been there a couple times, but haven't been there a whole lot. But it's the Palmetto State, I believe, from South Carolina. We got Magic Mike. What up, Holmes?
Not too much. Just living the life and waiting on all this rain from the hurricane we were supposed to get that we didn't get.
So you're just getting a lot of rain. Did you get any wind damage at all?
It rained 2 days, and it was like yesterday it rained for a little bit, and Sunday it rained for a little bit. That was it.
Well, I noticed, I was watching it kind of track because I have some friends all the way up that seaboard there. It was, trying to see how it was going to do, and I never saw anything really kind of go as they thought it was. So I'm glad to hear that it was just another rain day,
Yeah. At the same time, I'm just starting to not believe anything I'm hearing on news outlets.
Well, news outlets in general are pretty bad right now, but I'll say this: the greatest job in the world has got to be a weatherman, right? These guys can be right maybe 25% of the time and make a ton of money doing it. So that's the dream gig,
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
All right. And from the great state of Texas, the tactical virus, Leprechaun himself. What's up, Clove?
Good evening. What's up?
Oh, he's going with the is that Count, what is it? What was the Dracula from Sesame Street? Count
every time I hear people talk like that,
Count.
I think the cereal, Count Dracula.
It's just the count.
Yeah, it's just the Count. Yeah, I just call him just the Count. Good evening. We've got a bunch of people out there. I guess we can do a roll call real quick. We're waiting for Snob to get in here, but let's say hello to everybody out there. We got Bucks out there, Gun Loving Grandpa. Mr. F&H was begging. This dude was begging hard for a moderator ranch. And anyone that sends me an email, sends me an Instagram message, and asks me in a chat that wants a wrench, I guess you got to, reward his persistence. I don't know if it's creepy or not, but he really decided he wanted a wrench. He might have been a wrench earlier, right? If he was, he said he lost a wrench. I haven't looked at my mods in a while, but who knows? But he begged. So I guess begging works out sometimes. So F&H is a new mod. So don't let the power go to your head, or I'll take that shit away. Just saying. 223 DMRs out there. Nicholas Rodriguez, beautiful day now that the storm has passed. He must be over on the East Coast, getting away from the hurricane as well. So glad everyone's safe. Let's see here. I think I said 223 DMRs out there. If I didn't, he is. Jacob is out there. G23's out there. And Rich White, the 1% is out there. And let's go down. They had a nice little conversation going pre-show, but we'll come back down. Wayne Barnhart's out there. Travis T, double T's out there. Gizzard Gary, what's up, Gary? Snob's out there, and it looks like he might be back to normal in here. What's up, Snob? Everything good?
No, my OBS crashed. I don't know what's wrong with it.
Oh, you had to restart?
It won't do nothing. Yeah, my OBS locked up my whole computer, I guess.
Yeah, I've had to do that to me before.
And now it won't even recognize my camera. So I'm like, all right, I'll figure it out later.
The OBS, man, it takes a lot of computer power to run that thing for some reason. I don't know. Let's see here. Mike's out there as well. Mystic's out there, the better half of Snob. Hello, dear. Clovertack's out there trying to, I don't know what he's trying to do, but he's probably pimping and chilling for something out there. He does that. Georgia Trucker's out there. 2 Live Moo. What's up, Moo? Obviously, we mentioned the Gun Cleaners is out there. Ricky Hunt. I like that. He's from Florida. Welcome to the nightmare that is the show. We're going to get in here in a second. Southpaw RX is out there. Joe San's out there. What's up, Joe San? Nighthog's out there. Holy hell. Scroll down. I think I might have missed some. If I missed you, I apologize. I did not mean to. Make sure you say some. Jason Stewart's out there. I did see that one. So Warsaw Patriots out there. What's up? All right. So tonight what we're going to talk about is something that some of the videos that we put out in the last few months or so since this pandemic has hit. There's Flood Life. He's shilling for double barrel shotguns, he says. It sounds about right. I'm going to shill for sweet tarts, just saying. This is my nemesis. I know Mike's got a sweet tooth going right now too, so. The green frogs. Are they gay?
No, they're delicious, but not magically delicious, but they are delicious.
Yeah, you can't say magically delicious. I'm pretty sure that Clovertack has that copyrighted. So, just saying. All right. So anyways, we're talking about videos we've done in the last few months, and we've done some entry-level stuff, guns under $400, whatever. Page in the Dark's out there. I wanted to do this. I forgot. Had a little mail call. I'm going to do a live mail call today. So I come home, and I have his T-shirt, and it says PITD for Patriot in the Dark, and it says hashtag Never Fear the Dark. Really cool shirt on the back side. Look at that. That's a pretty cool ass logo. Patriot in the Dark right there. So go check out our good friend, Patriot in the Dark over there, guys. He's a good friend, former Marine, doing some really good, awesome stuff. And I'm not going to give the secret away, but if you go check some of his stuff out, he comes to the gun community and he does videos from a very different perspective than anyone else we know doing videos out there. So go check him out. Anyways, so the question we've been getting a lot is, what do we consider entry level? Because for some people, it means entry level could mean a price range. It could mean the ease of how to manipulate that firearm. We can talk about optics. Is it cheap optics, or is it just something you need to make sure it runs? Training classes. What are entry level training classes? All this encompassing. There are a lot of people that are new to the community, and we're going to do a show tonight about what we all think is considered entry level. It doesn't have to be budget or whatever, but I want to start with Snob real quick and say, for firearms and stuff, when you hear the word entry level, what's the first thing that comes to mind to you? And he's muted. He might not even be here. He might be having problems again. So I'm going to go to Clover. Clover, for you, when you hear entry level, we're talking for firearms. When you hear entry level, is there something that comes into mind right away?
Yeah, I mean, what comes to mind, I think probably for most people, price, money, right?
Yeah. Mike, what about you? When you hear entry level for firearms, entry level, is it a price range? Is it a type of gun or what?
Well, I have to agree with that one. It's based on price, but at the same time, performance kind of plays in there as well. So but we can continue on. We'll talk. It's going to build up to what I'm going to be thinking here in a little bit.
Oh yeah, it'll build up. I want to keep that with you, and you do a lot of instruction and all that. I know Clover does too, but in like training or instruction, when you hear someone give some advice and say, "Hey, you want to get some basic, some basic instruction or training, when you get your first gun," and I hear basic, to me, it means the same thing as entry level, right? So when you hear someone say, "Hey, you just need to get some basic instruction or basic training done," as an instructor, what do you have in your mind when you hear that basic instruction?
When I hear the basic, I'm thinking more along the lines of understanding the firearm. Where is the front sight? Where is the rear sight? What does the magazine release do? How does the slide stop operate? How do you put the magazine in? Right? How do I hold the gun? How do I stand? What do I do with the trigger? All basic stuff. So it's no movement, right? My only function is safe handling this tool that's in my hand, looking, pointing, and then trying to figure out how to put the shot where I'm aiming.
All right. Clover, do you have anything to add when you hear basic or entry level instruction or training? What's that first thing? You worked with kids, and you probably have a lot of kids that are brand new when you were working with 4-H. When you were talking the basic fundamentals, what kind of entails that instruction?
Safety is number one. It always is. But also included with basic is, you got to get them putting rounds on target pretty quick. I've seen some classes offered even with adults where you go and it's all classroom setting and they dry fire, and that's great. But if you can get them out and get some live fire done, I mean, once you put somebody, especially if they're chaperoned, if you've got ROs on the line and stuff like that, then run them through some your basic safety course, 3 rule, 4 rule, whatever you want, your range rules, go through that, get them on the line, get them slinging lead.
Yep. And I think what Mike was talking about is the manual of arms is, especially if they're new, they need to understand, whether it's a revolver, a semi-automatic hand, whatever it is, there is a manual of arms that are kind of basic. I think that both of you are right, is you got to teach them how to manipulate that weapon safely. But then, like you said, you got to actually teach them to get fired, firing that trigger.
Well, we say basic, right? You got to caveat that specifically. Basic what? Basic pistol, basic revolver, basic bolt action rifle, basic long range, basic what? If we're just talking basic firearms, you take somebody and again, you bring them out and you go through every single action, every single frame, every single safety, every single caliber, and you're going to lose them.
6 hours.
You're going to lose them. Pick one if they want to learn, quote unquote, just firearm, basics. Pick one, you pick it. Take them out and then, walk them through the safety, get them slinging lead down range. The safety manual of arms, get them to sling lead down range. And then if they're interested, then poke and prod about, well, hey, that you enjoyed that, then let's try the revolvers, or let's try the bolt action rifles, or let's try the lever action rifles, or whatever.
Right. Snob, are you here? He's in and out, in and out, in and out. I don't know if you can hear me or not. Hey,
I don't know.
You're here for now. You're here for now.
Yeah, I'm in for now. Who's this guy? I haven't seen him in forever.
Hey, don't you owe me lunch or something?
Wait, I gotta go. See you later.
We're talking like entry level, and the term entry level, and it can mean so many different things. But when you let's talk about firearms or optics or whatever. But when you hear the term entry level, when it comes to the firearm niche community, what's the first thing that comes to mind for you?
Chiapa rhinos, STIs. Oh wait, no.
For some people, that could be,
something more budget friendly and ease. What's like an ease of use thing, or something it's something that's available at like big box stores, because most people, in my experience around the people I've seen, whenever they first get into firearms, they go to either Walmart or like an Academy or Bass Pro or something and get something there. They're not going to go to a local shop and pick out something they've never heard of. It's going to be something common and usually budget friendly for the most part. I don't think it's always budget friendly, but a lot of times it is.
No, and that's kind of where this topic came from, because I did a video, I don't know, 6 months or so ago, whatever it was, talking about entry-level ARs. And I started getting a lot of comments about, all of these are cheap ARs. Entry-level doesn't always mean cheap. And I started thinking, they're right. I mean, for someone that's a gazillionaire, going and getting a $2,500 AR with all the bells and whistles, and then going and buying a $5,000, thermal scope or whatever, for them, that could be entry level, but when I think entry, I do think more price effective. And someone up there, I think it was Jacob, said, accuracy. I do agree. It's something that it doesn't have to be cheap. It just needs to be cost efficient, but for the price, something that you're going to get maybe a lot more bang for the buck that you're paying, something that's going to be relatively easy to handle. They're not going to have all the frills and the extra stuff added to it. It's going to be a basic firearm that's going to be able to go bang, reliable, cost effective. That's kind of what I think of. And I know that there are people out there. Someone said High Point is what they think, and that's okay. Nicholas out there, I'll bring his up, and he says entry level means cheap, easy to use, and no frills. Bonus if it's upgradable. That's right. But the entry level, let's take an AR for example. And you guys just jump in. We don't have to wait for anyone to talk or whatever. Just jump in. But for me, when you want an entry level AR, the great thing, well, shut the hell up, When you talk about entry level AR, the great thing about an entry level AR, the AR platform, is it's so modular. You can go and spend, let's say, $400 or $500, get yourself a really good basic AR with no frills, no nothing. But you have, over time, you could not have to go buy a new one. You can upgrade that particular base model into whatever you want. Add a drop-in trigger, add some kind of an optic, change out the furniture, change out your barrel, whatever you got to do. You can take that base entry level and turn it into, down the line, into basically whatever you want. What do you guys think about having something that they can build upon? Or is that something that we need to talk about, is building upon a base model, let's say of an AR? Or do you say, hey, if you have the money, go buy that $1,000 AR versus the $500 AR? What do you guys say? Mike, you wanted to say something earlier?
Yeah. So basically, pretty much the same thing. What you're talking about is what I done. When I pretty much first got into the firearms heavily, I ended up buying a Smith & Wesson M&P model, and I sent it off and ended up getting like $1,200 worth of work done to it. So pretty much paid $500 for a gun, got $1,200 worth of work, but it was a race gun for its time. So it was faster than a lot of the stock guns that were considered race guns at that time. So it was running neck and neck. Now it's just buttermill, just like, it's still nice. It's still nice to pull the trigger. It still does everything it's supposed to do. But now you can go ahead and pay the $3,000 for an STI or a Brazos Customs or a Phoenix Trinity, competition style gun, and get that same performance that I was getting back in 2004, know? So necessarily, I don't want everybody to think like, when you say buy it base model, don't buy a High Point and start pumping all that money into the High Point,
unless you're snob.
But basically, like I said, what I did was I just bought a regular stock right off the shelf M&P, sent it off to a company, and they did all the upgrades that I wanted done to it. Came back to be what I wanted it to be.
Well, let's not forget too that you can spend $200 on a 10/22 and then turn around before you're done and have $1,000, $1,500 in it.
Right.
So another great platform to work off of.
Yeah, 10/22. I mean, you can't go anywhere without seeing stocks or whatever. I mean, hell, 10/22s, you can do anything to them. I mean, there are companies out there like Tandem Cross that their company was based off of upgrades and aftermarket parts for a 1022 or 22s in general. And I mean, that's what they do. So it's wonderful. Yeah. Guitar Man Pete out there, throw this up there. It says, as soon as you go beyond entry level, you're talking price. Therefore, entry level means budget. And I think that's kind of where, I mean, I think everyone would probably agree, not everyone, but most would agree that the first thing that comes to their mind is entry level means a lesser budgeted firearm, something that, not saying it's a Jimenez or whatever, but you can talk about spending. I did a video on under $400, and there's some phenomenal handguns out there that you can get for under $400. Now, maybe not right this second with all the craziness going on.
Also maybe not necessarily, and this I think plays into entry level a little bit, depending on where you live and the regulations on what you can have.
Mm-hmm. 10-round magazines. So yeah, that's true.
Yep. Now Sandy out there, his entry level to him means you don't have to buy the gun and then spend more money because I need to update it or make it work right. Buying a gun with the right grip, sights, optic, if applicable. Now, once again, entry level. Let's just say, and I'm not there yet. Snob and Sarge and a couple others out there are really doing their best to go check out Snob's new video today, and you'll see what I mean. Really trying to get this shit with optics and dots on handguns, and it's driving me crazy. But it's getting there. I'm getting there. I might have to get one to try it out. But an entry level gun might be something to where, if you think down the line that you might want to run a dot on your handgun, find a gun that's at a decent price that might have, an RMR already, cut into it, or something that you can be able to put a light on or a laser or whatever. If you think you might want to have these upgrades and these additions to that handgun or AR or whatever it is that you're using down the line, he's right. The budget is, and I wish budget was not working, because I mean, his budget guns and gear, he would definitely know what the hell we're doing. But I think a lot of it comes down to is really finding something that you can build on. It doesn't mean you can't go buy a different gun, but if you get one that works and it's reliable, it's safe, and then a lot of people will laugh, but like this gun right here, this thing's 10 years old, at least. Okay. The only thing that's basically left that's Smith & Wesson is probably the shell, I put new barrel, put new trigger.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
But it was based off of that M&P, and that was a great entry-level firearm for him,
It's not realistic, and it's not intellectually honest to say to somebody, entry level means you're coming into something, right? Whatever that is, whether it's your competition firearm, self-defense firearm, whatever it might be, okay, a hunting firearm. Mm-hmm. Entry, you're coming into it. Mm-hmm. So how are you going to know to buy it with the right grips and the right optic and the right sight, and the right this and the right that? If you're just coming into it, you don't know. So you're going to have to get something that meets your budget, that will start giving you some experience.
And it feels good to you
that you like.
Yeah. It's going to have to feel good to you then, and then you realize, oh, well, man, I saw my buddies, and that feels even better,
Right, a frame of reference. You're going to have a frame of reference first. Yeah.
Honcho out there made a great point. He says entry level equals how much an individual is able/willing to spend on a reliable firearm. And I think that word right there is something that is the key. It's not budget, it's not monetary, it's not whatever. It's reliable. Everyone has that different price point that they're willing and able to spend. But an entry-level firearm has got to be reliable. That's why there are going to be certain guns that some of us are going to sit there and say, yeah, it's a great priced gun, but I wouldn't put my life in the hands of this firearm. It's not going to be reliable. It's had issues, or the company has issues. And if it does break, they have issues with their customer service and all that. So I think the reliability goes hand in hand with the cost factor. I think that the cost factor is a big one, but if you've got $400 to spend, you can find a gun for $300, but it might not be the greatest one, but you might have one that's $425. Are you willing to spend the extra $25 to get that one that's more reliable or not?
But let's be honest about this for a minute. And I'm coming from a perspective of sitting here looking at a Phoenix Arms 22 or a Jimenez 22 that has never once not fired.
Yeah.
And you know how often I shoot 22.
Right.
Are there realistically that many firearms out there that are not reliable?
No, I don't think there are. I think that there is a very small percentage that I should say that stick around for more than a year that are not reliable. I think that those unreliable guns may only just be one or two models of a huge company as well.
Right.
Smith & Wesson, the SDVE, people up there swear by it. I have seen horrific examples of that gun failing at the absolute worst times, but there's people that will swear by it. Every other comment on that under $400 video of mine talks about the SDVE, and it's like, I'm glad it works for you. I'm glad it does. But I've seen not just one, not just two. I've seen a lot of those things fail miserably. So I wouldn't suggest that. It fits into that category of price, but the reliability and safety of that gun is terrible. Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that portion of the conversation reminded me. One day I was at the said company, which was a big box store that sells firearms. And there was a lady in there buying a firearm. And when I seen it, I was just like, let me go talk to her, you know? So when I was talking to her, I was trying to talk her out of buying that firearm and getting something else that was a little bit more reliable. But the only reason why she was determined to get that firearm was mainly because she was already dead set on getting it because of the price, you know? And I was just more like, okay, you could have stepped up to a Glock, a SIG, or the M&P version, because that's pretty much what they had in store. But she went with something that was a little bit lower value that, in my personal opinion, wasn't that reliable at the time.
And there was probably nothing that you could have said that was going to change her mind probably at that point.
I mean, I was throwing it at her. The only thing I didn't give her was my phone number and said, let's go sit down and talk about this over dinner. But once I saw that look in her eye, I
love that about you. You take an opportunity to try to get a date out of this. I love that about you. Yeah, I love that about you.
No, I wouldn't do that.
No.
So I've got to wonder.
You must be right there. I'm sorry, Corey.
So when we're talking about reliability, and I think it was Honcho out there was talking about, he was a dealer or something. He sees a lot. In that position, your percentages and everything are going to be skewed because of the position you're in. So, we're probably, him and I probably will not agree on this. Same token, I mean, and I've made no secret about it, so a lot of people probably know I have in my possession something for T&E that is giving a pretty significant issue for me that I've yet to figure out, and I'm working with the company to figure it out. Yet there's nothing out there on the internet about this. So firearms can have reliability issues. That's not indicative of the make or model. They can have issues because of user error. They can have a bad batch, sure. They can have an issue that is a product of lack of maintenance, cleaning, lubrication, ammunition use, just not being used properly. Maybe you're supposed to manipulate one thing before you manipulate the other. Otherwise, it causes premature wear. Not supposed to store something with the spring, with tension on the spring, or whatever it might be, right? There's all types of factors that play into reliability that don't speak to the mechanical nature of the firearm itself.
Yeah. Carolina's out there and he says, everyone, I'm covering up Snob and Mike, sorry about that, but it says that everyone has everyone has different experiences with so many different brands. It's just like when you buy a car, some like Chevy's, like Clover's a big Chevy guy.
Yeah, Mike looks like Wilson down there. So
he does look like Wilson from what was that? Home Improvement. Home Improvement. Yeah.
So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk
about the guy in the ATF meme. That works.
Well, that's true. That's a good one too. But some like Chevy, some like Toyota mini cars have different. Yeah, I mean, and it's just like this. I'm not going to sit there and shit on the SDVE and say it is a terrible gun. You should never go buy it. I will not recommend it to someone because I've seen it really fail horribly multiple times. To where if anyone asks me my opinion on it, I'm going to sit there and say, look, for the same price, you can go buy a Canic that's 10 times the firearm that will ever be. You can go buy a Security 9. You can go, I mean, there's a lot of firearms in that $400 range that are so much better than SDVE. But if that's the gun that you want and you fired it, everything feels good and you're set on it, then do it. I'm just saying that I've seen problems. You might not have any problems. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I was just going to say, depending on who you're talking with and to, it's their determination on the definition of reliability. So, for instance, when I say a reliable firearm or a handgun, I'm referring to Smith & Wesson, Glock, SIG, FN. High Point is nowhere in that conversation when I say reliable. So pretty much for me, it's the more popular companies that have been around with proven products. So
now I will say I will throw High Point into the conversation if you're talking reliability for an entry level gun. Yes, you can get it for $150, but anyone that knows they are ugly. They make Glocks look like Wilson Combat, completely done perfect stuff. They're heavy, but they run. And I wouldn't suggest them as if you've got an extra $100 to spend. Like I said, you can go get a lot better gun. But I would throw High Point in the conversation. Said, look, I've got a little bit of money, not much, but a little bit of money, and a guy wants to sell me this High Point for $150. What do you think? I wouldn't have an issue with telling someone that a High Point, it will run. Now, as soon as you can get something better, save your money for another month, or as soon as you get something better, get it. But reliability wise, I've never had an issue with a High Point.
I could think of an issue. I've got a 380 that I don't even know at this point how many rounds it's doing, thousands. If you ever taken a High Point apart, it's not fun. So this one has only been taken apart once. My cleaning regimen for it in thousands of rounds has been to spray it down with cleaner, blow it out with an air compressor, lubricate where it needs to lubricate, and it doesn't even come apart hardly, not even field strip hardly on this thing, and it still is running strong, and I've never had an issue. Now, here's the thing: if I had that High Point and I dropped it onto from 4, 5, I'm not very tall, so I'd have to be on the ladder to do this. But if I dropped it from 4, 5, 6 foot onto concrete,
you can drop it from 4 feet. We'll give you that one.
I don't know. I would probably still trust it, but I would want to inspect it very, very rigorously before I did, because just of the materials used in a High Point. You know what I mean?
Man, my Smith & Wesson, like I said, I dropped it, put it in dirt, sand, mud.
Yeah, but that's the difference between the cheap and those established brands you're talking about. Exactly. They use better metals, better raw materials, and all that kind of stuff.
Snob's about ready to have a freaking meltdown over here.
I know. I mean, what other guns can you buy, set on your drill press, and drill through the side of it without even disassembling it? I mean, the amount
it never had a problem with it afterwards.
Yeah, it doesn't have any problems. Now, I mean, I will say this though: you're bad mouthing the High Points, but Altor, Altor is very high quality materials. You can. I'm
gonna put it out there. I am bad mouthing them because I would not put my life use that when my life is on the line.
and I understand. God.
I would use that over a rock or a pointy stick any day of the week. So the fact that you won't use that is contingent upon the fact that you have the ability
to your Smith & Wesson or your Walther and your head.
Like I said, I'm a trained fighter also, so I'll take my hands over a High Point.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
I'm not even, dude.
I'll challenge you to this. You bring your hands, I'll bring my High Point Sidewinder, and Mike, which one wins?
Mike, bring your body armor too. Just saying.
I'll sit there. I'll just wait. It's going to eventually run out. So after that, I'll be like, all right.
Hey, you don't know. Snob may have some black talons. You better watch it.
I'm telling you, Snob has figured out a 60-round magazine for that high point. He's got two of those, was those red balls or whatever. He's got 2 or 3 of those.
Tape them together.
Duct tape them. He's going to run 60 rounds through that thing. This is a great question out here. I want to bring this up to you guys. We're going to go run through the room with this, but I'm going to cover up Snob and Mike again. My defense dad says, so speaking of entry level, what's your opinion on someone building a budget AR for their first instead of like a DPMS? Okay, so I'm going to let Clover start on this because
thank you.
I've never had much luck, and I'm not shitting on them. I just have never had much luck with DPMS. I had a lot of malfunctions with DPMS, but I know that you've got one that you still run that was this older one that you swear by. I would say swear by, but you definitely recommend, right?
My very first AR and my only out of a box factory assembled AR was a DPMS Panther, bought in a pawn shop many moons ago. Still running strong. Have had absolutely no issues. Great rifle. So yeah, I'm definitely not gonna turn up a nose at DPMS. Have multiple builds with multiple DPMS components in them also, which have never failed. And by the way, I've got a Spikes bolt carrier group that has failed. So there you go for brand name, blah blah blah. Just so everybody knows, anything can fail. But to answer the question about building your first AR, not a fan.
Building a budget, let's say out of PSA or whatever,
Well, I mean, if it's your first AR, I don't like the idea of somebody building.
Now, hold on. One thing, building. A lot of people consider building by going on PSA's website.
That's true.
Buying a lower,
and
buying an upper, and sticking them together.
A 2-pin build.
Lower. We're talking all you got to do is literally. And you're done. That's not building an AR, correct?
Well, that's true. And with that, I wouldn't have much of an issue. But a true build where you're actually building the lower, actually building the upper, would not recommend that for a first build. I would say get something that's already assembled that you can then take apart. If it's assembled, you can take it apart and hopefully remember where the parts go to put it back together, get familiar with it. And then from there, move into, hey, let your second one be your build.
I do like the idea of getting that one that's already, pre-built and then taking it apart. I'm not saying stripping the lower down if you don't want to right away, but over time, taking that thing apart and like you said, learning, because once you kind of see where everything goes, you may not know what it is. If you're new, you might not know what that thing is. This little piece, what is that? I don't know what this is, but I know it goes right there. You can build that. Before I go to Mike or to Snob, Pete out there says he built his first down to the last pin for $330. I don't think that you're going to be able to do that right now. You could maybe a year and a half ago, you probably could have built one for about that. I think prices, if you can find them, prices are a little bit more expensive. But yeah, let's say $500 right now. If you can find uppers and lowers and all that, you can find all the parts. I would say 500, but Snob Mike, what are your thoughts on building your first budget AR versus buying a pre-assembled?
Well, I mean, mine would just be basically what Clover said. I don't think, unless you're really if you're already into tinkering and putting stuff together and doing stuff like that, then yeah, build one if you just want to do it for fun. But I think if I was just getting into it and didn't want to be pulling my hair out because you lost 3 D10s and 4 springs, I think just go buy your first one and then, like you said, take it apart, clean it all, tear it all the way down. Yeah. But yeah, it's nothing's complicated on building an AR, up or lower, anything. It's just there's a few things to it. And if you're not into, I'm going to say, tinkering or, playing around with stuff like that, you might not want to just tackle that first off.
Mike, what about you? Build or buy?
I'm in the same boat as Snob. I would tell anybody, because a couple people actually came to me and asked me this question a few months ago, and I would always tell them to go buy it, because as soon as you start trying to build it, everything is a science. So if you use this length of a barrel, you might need this size spring and this type of buffer, versus the longer barrel, now you need this type of spring and this form of a buffer. So if you're not familiar with that science and the technology of how everything goes together with the ergonomics of that firearm, just buy it. And it's already science proven, and just go out, shoot it, and have fun. Unless you want to torture yourself, and if that is your thing.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, all of mine are built. I mean, they're not built; they're pre-assembled. I mean, I've never built an AR. I think people know that about me. I've been trying to for a long time. Things happen. I was going to try to build one a couple of years ago with my daughter for Christmas and all that, but all of mine are pre-assembled, and I don't care. I mean, one day, yeah, would it be nice? But I can take, like I said, that one I didn't build, but I basically did. There's really nothing original left in that gun. I mean, everything's been taken out and put new stuff, but I didn't build it. I upgraded basically everything over the last years, but it's all different. So I agree. I think that for the first one, I think that buying one and buying and the visit dad said he was just using DPM as an example. Yeah, Diamondback's got some stuff. You've got Wyndham that's got some stuff. You've got Bushmaster that's got stuff. I mean, you can go find a Smith & Wesson. This is not the M&P Sport 2. This is the original M&P Sport. You can find these for, probably $500 somewhere. But there are a lot of great options out there that it's going to cost you the same to build as it is to get that. Now, the difference is, are you going to be able to put the trigger that you want into right away? No, but if it's your first one, you don't know what trigger you're going to want. Don't go buy a CMC trigger or Hyperfire or any of these Geisley triggers because one of us tells you to. You've got to figure out what kind of trigger you want. You've got to figure out what kind of optic, if you want an optic, what kind of optic you want on that. You got to figure out, do you want a forward grip? You had to figure out, do you like what the length is? You start out at 16 inch, but you might sit there and say, man, I don't want anything above a 10.5 inch. I need to go with a pistol or SBR or whatever. So buying that first one to kind of figure out what you want from there is kind of exactly what we're talking about. It's entry level. It's not going to break the bank. It's going to be reliable. It's going to be good, but it's going to be that base foundation of where you want to go down the line. So, I think we all kind of agree on that, is buying versus building the first AR. Let's see here. But it says he's all in for someone building a budget. I'm all for someone building a budget AR, but I don't know if I would do it for my first AR. Like these guys said, buy the first one, learn how the mechanics of it work. If you're a mechanical engineer and you think you can do it, by all means go. But how do you know what components to buy?
Well, and so a lot of people, I know literal gun shops, and I'm not affiliated with any.
Well, I know some figurative gun shops, but
I know so well. Let me finish what I'm saying. But yeah, I know some, I'm not affiliated with any of them because I'm gonna put it out there, but I know that literally build ARs with like vice grips and screwdrivers and stuff, right? And I hate to tell you, but if you're gonna build ARs, build them easily, build them right, and not screw anything up, you're probably gonna spend $250 on tools.
Yeah, because there's a couple tools that like I said, I've never built one, but I've heard everyone that has. There's one or two tools that if you don't have, either you can't do it or your life is going to be miserable without that specific tool. So
yeah, I don't know how many people. I'm a big do-it-yourself around the house ex-mechanic guy anyway, so I got a lot of tools at my disposal before I ever started. Rudimentary tools that are not AR specific, right? Mm-hmm. Roll pin punches, for example, is one. But even when you get into that, the gas roll pin punch is different. The bolt catch roll pin punch needs to be flat on one side. You could build one, sure, if you were handy. Just take a punch and grind down the handle or the shank or whatever on it. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't factor that in when they think, oh, I'm going to build it. And like Pete's, for example, $330 he was talking about. Well, if you're a person that lives in an apartment somewhere or whatever that has maybe a 30-piece socket set or and a pipe wrench or something, then, I mean, you're looking at having to buy tools for that. You're going to have to buy a vise. You're going to have to buy the vise blocks. You're going to have to buy all of these other things. So how many are you going to build is the question. Are you just going to build the one, or is this something that you're planning on building multiple ARs down the road because
all of your ARs will be built from now on. Yeah.
Right, because you're going to have to extrapolate that cost. You're going to pay for it up front, but can you extrapolate that over time and it not really affect the raw cost? Yeah.
That has too many syllables in it. I don't know what that would mean.
It's math. Oh. So don't worry about it.
Okay. Thanks. Honcho out there says, built an AR first, enjoyed shooting and breaking it down, complete AR. This caused me to want to build more from scratch. So let me ask you guys this, and Honcho, if you're out there, when you built your first AR, and I'll say, I'm assuming Mike and Snob and Clover, you've all built AR, so I'm the only one out here that hasn't. But let me ask you, all three of you guys, and answer however you want to. When you built your first AR, did you do it by yourself, including watching YouTube videos, or did you get the help of someone else that had already done it? Because that's a whole different thing. If you've got someone who's built 25 ARs, then they could be right there with you, helping you along the way. But did you guys get help, or did y'all do it on your own?
I did mine on my own. I actually tore them apart to Cerakote them and stuff. Mine, that's how I really learned all the workings, because you literally take every single piece of it off. So that's how I learned it, just that in the book.
So the when you Cerakote, that was your first AR you had bought pre-assembled, and you basically learned from flipping it down.
The one that's the red and black one of mine was originally a DPMS. It has very little DPMS left on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's the first one I ever took all the way down to every single piece.
Yeah. Mike, what about you? Did you have anyone like specifically helping you build and showing you and helping you, or did you do it on your own?
Yeah, I've never built an AR before.
Oh, okay, I thought you had one.
No, I have plenty AR.
No, I know. I thought you had one that you had built for some reason.
No. Only time I built up an AR-15 is when I took it apart, cleaned it, put it back together. I don't go beyond the level 10 maintenance, as far as now. Anything beyond that, I actually take it to somebody who is certified in doing that stuff, because for whatever it is, I don't have patience with small things.
I hear you. That my whole life is small in every which way, so I have to be patient. So
right.
I'm not blessed with anything big. So, anyways, Clover, what about you? When you built your first one, did you have someone that kind of helped you out, or how did you go through that first process of building your first one?
I've always been blessed with being mechanically inclined, and that includes gunsmithing on a whole lot of different guns. So it's one of the things where I had no fear of it. And then I had the first one, and so it didn't take me long after having that first one and changing this or changing that or tweaking this or tweaking that. It's like building one is nothing. It's just a matter of having the proper tools. I could work on a 2020 Ford F-350 right now. It's just a matter of, for me, it's just a matter of having the tools. So once I had those, I was good to go.
Yeah.
I was like, I could do brain surgery if I had the right scalpel.
Well, it's true. If I had laser guided scalpels and all that, I could certainly do it. Sure. Find everything else you need to know on YouTube, man.
I mean,
just saying.
There's a party. Now, Mike, let me ask you this: has there ever been a time that you've wanted to build one and didn't, or has there ever been that time when you said, I want to, or have you always been, what, I'm gonna leave that to somebody else?
Yeah, I've always been like that. Versus AR-15 or M4, when I see one, okay, I compare them. I like this one better. That's the one I'm gonna go for. But if I can't afford that one, I might settle for this one just to get me by until I can figure out a way to get the one that I really want. But I've never had a desire to build a firearm from scratch.
Yeah. Now G23 says, why is it always an AR? Let's talk about AK-47s. I love you. Now you guys know I love AKs. I actually enjoy shooting an AK more than I do an AR. That's just me. I love an AK. But
entry level. Yeah,
entry
level is tough now.
Does anybody know anyone whose first gun was an AK? I mean, I don't know anyone. Maybe G.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. But we're talking years ago.
The very first gun they ever owned was an AK.
I do. I know multiple people, but that was years ago. You're talking a decade plus ago, easy, if not 2 or 3. But yeah. That's what I'm saying. The whole entry level and AK no longer even goes together. Once upon a time, you could pick up an AK for $150. I mean, they were super, super cheap. And so it's kind of like maybe 10 years ago, the whole Mosin Nagant or SKS thing, right? And that was a lot of entry rifles for people
too.
Yeah, that was a lot of entry rifles for people back then. Nowadays, not so much anymore. So AK was once like that. It's just not anymore.
Jay Strummer, I don't recognize the name. Jace, if you're new, welcome. But he says owns and love M&P Sport 2, change some furniture, add some few options, and a fantastic weapon. You know, and I know that me talking about semi-automatic firearms that has Smith & Wesson is making Clover's blood boil right now. It's just it's driving him nuts. He doesn't like Smith & Wesson semi-automatic. I happen to love Smith & Wesson. I think Mike likes.
Are you talking an AR or are you talking a?
Well, just in general, you said that you've never really.
No. I can appreciate the Smith & Wesson AR. I don't have a huge problem. I do have a problem with that poly upper piece of crap they built at one time. Got a problem with that one. But as long as it's an all metal Smith & Wesson AR, I don't have a problem with it. But a Smith & Wesson semi-auto pistol, on the other hand, that's a different story. I don't like them.
Haters.
Yeah. Hater got to hate. Sorry. But another thing is, before we get totally off the AK thing we were talking about a second ago.
I was going to say, Sarge says, why would we talk about peasant weapons?
Right. Here's the thing with talking entry level and AK is you've got and the AK guys out there in the chat, back me up on this. I mean, holla, right?
I'm an AK guy.
Because if you go buy quote unquote budget or quote unquote cheap, like we're talking about AK, you're gonna get slammed and hammered and slandered and everything else. People are gonna talk trash and smack, and that's the biggest turd and a piece of junk and blah 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 blah, and they're gonna hate all over you. You're gonna be proud because you got your first quote unquote entry level whatever AK, and you're gonna feel like a moron by the time it's said and done. I guarantee you that's gonna happen with an AK.
Yeah. And there's a lot of that right now. Everyone's trying to get in the AK game. PSA, basically, besides the Dagger and maybe one or two others, they put their whole emphasis on 2020 on the AK platform for PSA. So everyone's trying to jump in on it. They're cool guns, and it's something that the thing you talk about when you hear the AK thing is if it's not Russian or Yugoslavian, it's trash. It's trash. Well, there have been some other guns that have not been good, but I mean, there are some good AKs out there. There are some really good AKs. And so instead of every company's going to have a lemon. Everyone's going to have a bad gun. It is what it is. Redemption is a beautiful thing. You let them come back to the second gun. If it works, let them off the hook. But yeah, I love AKs, but I mean, for me, like I said, I know that Clover has. I don't know anyone that's bought an AK right off the bat, and I don't understand. Honestly, I love AKs, but I don't understand why an AK would be someone's first gun. I mean, I really don't. I mean, but that's just me. Jacob out there now. Jacob, I think is like 20 or 22, 23, somewhere in there. He's a young man who's getting into firearms, and he says, "I've never touched an AR or an AK before." I live in AR, and I have some friend of mine that live in AK. You got to go to Arkansas. Arkansas and Alaska are both really cool places. They're both firearm friendly. Yep. You've got to touch Arkansas and Alaska before you die. So, no.
He's a firearm owner now, though.
He is a firearm owner.
Clap.
That's right. Yep. And I love the fact that he's out here. He's always asking questions, and he's not afraid to ask questions, which is really what I like, because he's asking questions that other people might be nervous or scared to ask in public. So, but yeah, someone asked something up there, and I can't remember what it was. They said, okay, it was Nighthawk. He said, the first trigger pull in the first AR you built is nerve-wracking. I would imagine so. I would imagine, Snom and Clover, when you built your first AR and you took it out to the range and you pulled that live round the very first time, were you nervous?
It ran away with me. No, I did have one do that one time. I built a budget quote unquote, using air quotes here, with a combination of used parts, stuff I traded for at a ex Marine buddy, not Ghost, but another one that really wanted an AR, his first AR, and so I just so happened I had a barrel laying around and a few other parts, so did some horse trading, and I probably didn't have $200 in this AR. Put it all together, and somewhere in between the shop and the range, the trigger of the hammer pin one had walked on me, and I went out there and cranked the trigger back, and when I did, it jammed, it locked the fire control group cockeyed and ran away with a 20. Luckily, I only put 20 rounds in the magazine, but I had to just hang on to it till it ran dry. Couldn't do nothing. So yeah, things do happen. As far as the first one, I didn't have that experience, but yeah, I got a little cocky. That was probably the 10th or 12th one I'd built, and got a little cocky and wasn't paying attention. So, little lesson for everybody out there, whether you're reloading, building firearms, whatever you're doing, pay attention to things.
And that's.
I wasn't worried about my first AR I built. Now, I will say, whenever I built my pipe 12-gauge shotgun that I have with the 2-4 stock, I was a little nervous the first time I shot it. I'm going to be honest. I was wearing my welding gloves and a face shield.
Have you ever, let me ask Snob this, because I know Snob the only one on the panel that will have done it. Have you ever bought an old milsurp, an old, firearm of some kind, did a restoration or anything else, and ratchet strapped it down to a lead sled and a table and used the string?
Like because you want to be
like
away.
Literally
I
use
have
a
been
string.
involved in that, but I have never done it myself.
Yeah, I've done that. I've done that several times with some stuff I've got because I was just leery of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I love you, Sarge, but you need to go take a geography class.
Nah.
Or a U.S. history class.
Oh, Lord.
AK is the abbreviation for Alaska. AR is the abbreviation for Arkansas. I love him. Just saying.
He's got the geography
We
skills.
didn't know that shit.
Yeah.
He's got other skills that are good for him, but obviously geography is not one of them.
They didn't teach that in North Carolina.
As long as he knows, hey, as long as he knows the county.
The west of the Mississippi, they don't care about it. What'd you say, Clove?
I said, as long as he knows his county, he's good.
This is true. Let's see here. I can't. Okay, so Guitar Man P says, do we have any regulars in southern Indiana? I don't know in what part of Indiana that roll call is in, and I don't know
Roll call's north.
That Rick is in.
Rick's southern.
Okay. So Jacob, if you go over to YouTube and search for Rick's Life as I See It, it's a great channel. Rick's a great guy, older gentleman, but he's a great guy. He has just moved in the last year, about a year ago, I guess, to Indiana. So yeah, I mean, he would be maybe someone that you could go shoot with or something like that. And if he might know other people in that area. But those are the only two from Indiana that I know of that would be accessible. I don't want to tell him Tim because Tim's not going to be accessible. But I would say, and I didn't know a roll call. He is in the north, you said, Snub?
Yeah, he's up on the lake. He's near Chicago.
Okay. So Alaska, Arkansas thing. I mean, it could be whatever it is. Jacob says, I'll be strapping down my shotgun to test either this week or next.
I don't know that all that's necessary with what he's got there.
Nah, I wouldn't worry about it.
Run some birdshot through it. I might wear some gloves. What I put in the chat. Obviously, eye and ear pro. I mean, your eyes without a doubt, because a lot of times when you've got older firearms and the action's worn or something like that, you can get powder blowback or something. Definitely. So eye pro without a doubt. And then might wear some gloves just in case, because you're gonna be holding that forearm, and if something happens, you get some powder out the breech or something like that. It would sting a little bit, but it's not anything that's going to be life threatening. And I think that's the worst thing that he's got to deal with that. Run some birdshot through it, and you'd be good to go.
You're not talking real high pressure when you're talking shotguns, and it's going to go to there's a big, huge opening in the end of the barrel. All of it wants to go that way. It's easier for it to go that way than than blow out a piece of the barrel.
There's an opening down there. Now, Snob, did you wear like a welder's mask? I mean,
I wore a grinding face mask, honestly.
Elster's out there. I haven't seen Elster in a while. Elster says, I love my AKs, 100% understand there are 4 MOA firearms, just love the heritage. 7.62 by 39 wolf ammo. Like I said, I love shooting an AK probably more than an AR. I love the 7.62 by 39 round.
I love the sound. I love the sound of an AK.
Yeah,
I really do.
Great. Now, Michael know what I'm not saying that I'm sure Clover and Snob you might have as well, but I know that Mike has. If you've never shot, much less heard a real Russian-made AK in full auto, it is a sound that is very. I mean, you'll never guess what that is. You'll know immediately when you hear a full auto Russian-made AK. It's the coolest sound, and I love AKs.
I'm not an AK person, and I think the reason
See,
why
Mike's not a communist.
Yeah, I don't like AKs because of that's how I lost partial of my hearing because of an AK.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do respect the fact like how it's built and designed, how you can like literally put it in a bucket of mud, pull it out, and start shooting.
It's gonna run.
It's still gonna run. I respect that value, but outside of that, I don't want no parts of it.
And you can literally find like the worst, the dirtiest, the cheapest, the whatever ammo that you can find, it'll chew it up. It'll run anything you put through it. Good ones, There have been some other ones that maybe not, but the true one, Russian made AKs, military, those things.
Well, let me ask you this now. Since we did start off talking about entry level handgun.
That was such a long time ago.
So let me ask you about what is your perception of an entry level scope?
Okay. Scope or dot or optic or just an actual scope?
Well, either one, because let's just say optic, whatever you consider, regardless if it's red dot or for long range or variable optic.
Well, that's
your choice.
Yeah.
Let's start with red dot. Okay. I'll just start with red dot because I've had this discussion before. Is you've got these Chinese made red dots you can get for $35-$40. Okay. I get it. Is that entry level? Here's what I'm saying. For some people, it could be. And here's where I'm going with this. If you've never run a red dot before, you've never used one, you've never looked through one, you don't know, you see pictures, you see people talking, but you've never actually used a red dot in your life. Is buying a $35 Chinese red dot going to be something that is a smart move to get one in, put it on a rifle, decide, do I like a red dot or not? And if the answer is yes, then go buy a $200, $300, whatever it is. I would say for someone that truly doesn't know what a red dot is and they are thinking about getting one just because it sounds like the cool thing to do, I would say go get one of those Chinese red dots. They're not terrible. Are they going to last you more than 2 months? Probably not. But they're good. They're going to turn on for the first week or so, and you're going to be able to shoot 500 rounds without destroying them, I think. And that might give you enough sampling to figure out if you want to. But in generalities, a red dot, there are some really solid red dots that you can get for about $100. You can get some of the Vortex stuff that's maybe a couple years old. You can get for about $125 sometimes. Bushnell's got some really good stuff around the $100, $125 range. You go up to if you're willing to spend $200, you can get some really good optics out there for $200 price range. So the entry level to me, and as far as optics comes, is are you looking to try something to see if you like it, or do you already know that you like it and now you're looking for an optic that is not going to break the bank but still be something that you can build upon? So it all depends. I will say this, and it might not be the popular thing. If you have never tried a red dot and you want to just try one out, don't be afraid to go try to find one of those $40, Chinese red dots. For what you're going to use it for is basic experimenting. They'll do that job. If you're really wanting to get one that you already know you like a red dot, now let's take the next step. Yeah, there's Bushnell. You've got Vortex. You've got Holosun. They're up to $200. You can get a really, really good dot or reflex sight for under $200, and so that's what I would say. Does that answer your question, or did I kind of skate around it enough?
No, I mean, it's your opinion and what somebody takes from it.
Yeah. Clover, what do you got? Or Mike, let's ask you the same thing. When you're thinking of budget optic, what are you thinking of?
First, I'm thinking about use. So let's just happen to say if it's something for an AR-15 or M4. Am I looking just for the close range aspect with the red dot, or do I want the variable aspect where I can magnify from 0 to 6 or 0 to 8? More than likely, me personally, I like to use the variable optics because of the fact I can use that in two ways. I can actually use it and hone in on distance and use it as a measuring tool. But at the same time, if it's what I really want, that center of the reticle is going to be illuminated in some type of way, whereas I can still use that as a red dot as well.
Sure. And they're talking to different brands. I mean, I just threw a couple of brands out there. Sig Romeo's phenomenal. You can get Sig Romeo for about $100 right now. Phenomenal dots. Someone was talking about primary. You can find some really solid. Like I said, if you go up from $100 to $200, you've got a bunch of really quality stuff that you can find that are dots or reflexes or whatever that'll be really good. Snom, Clover, entry-level optics, and you can go either scopes, dots, whatever you want to go with.
I don't think you even got to go $100. So we're talking entry level here. So let me take this. Let me take this to maybe a target / hunting perspective instead of more of a defensive posture, because I know you and Mike are gonna hammer that one home. So
let you hammer out the footage kit.
So 3 to 9 by 40 on a scope. 3 to 9 being the magnification, x 40 being the objective size of the lens on the far end. 3 to 9 by 40 been around for many, many years. There's 80 bazillion different models and brands and everything else. You can probably walk into any pawn shop in the United States and pick up an older Bushnell, Simmons, Nikon.
I knew he was going to go with Simmons.
Weaver. Who knows?
Never heard of them. Are they good? Or they just older?
And it's just older. 3 to 9 by 40 used scope in a pawn shop for probably $20. Another $10 at Walmart, and you got a set of rings, right? $30. You've got a scope. You throw it on there. You know the magnification is 3 to 9. You know the objectives is 40. Now do your homework on what all of that means. And just so happens I got a video up on that. Do your homework on what all that means, and then you know what you need to achieve what you need to do if that scope doesn't do it, and you've done that for $30.
I love our buddy Patriot out there says scopes and optics are just a fad, just a crutch. Go ahead, Snom.
Throw a caveat in here on your entry level. It depends on what you're doing with it. If
You've been listening to Clover too long.
I know. Big words. No, but if I've got ARs that I literally will never do anything with, but sit out there and shoot at targets or shoot steel, and they're just cheap guns. I built them cheap just to have fun with. I don't care if they've only got a $50 or $40 red dot on them forever, because I'm not depending on that. Now, if it's a gun I'm depending on, I'm going to spend a little more money on it. I've got an aim point on one, but at the same time, like I've got an AR for hunting, coyote hunting. I mean, it's like a $120 LPVO on it. It's just a cheap one off Amazon, and it's fine. But it's like I said, I'm not depending my life on it.
Right.
If it goes down and I miss a coyote, oh well.
Right.
Yeah, Robert says UTG is good entry level. UTG is good. Matter of fact, my magnification lens this is UTG. That's not a EOTech. That's a 3x magnifier. That's I spent probably, I don't know, $90 or something on, I guess. Let's say $100 magnifier versus a $300 or $400 EOTech that's going to do the same thing.
I'll tell you another thing.
Sight mark. I know people laugh at me. Sight mark reflex sights. You can buy a sight mark for about $100, $120. It's a reflex sight that is phenomenal. I've got several of them. Anyways, but yeah,
we've talked about this before, and Barska is another good one when you're dealing with when you're talking about buying a new optic. and you're going with one of the cheaper companies, you have to be careful with the models that you buy. It's more so than the brand is crap. Everybody makes very low end stuff and very high end stuff. So finding something on that mid to high range, even with a cheaper company, it's gonna be pretty decent. What I was gonna mention is, and good Lord, you go to a show like Wanamaker in Tulsa, and it's crazy the amount of optics you can look at there. But even in a little local shows, gun shows around here, if things get back to where they start having some stuff like that, there's almost always like somebody that's Kenzie's Optics, somebody that does optics and has a wide variety. And that may not even be a brand you're interested in, but you can go and at least look through them, whether it's a red dot, whether it's barrel of power, or whatever. At least look at the construction, how it's made, the different features and things that you want. Right. Then when you go online, you'll have a better idea of, okay, I want this objective, or I want this magnification, or I want this type of a reticle, or whatever.
Yep, absolutely. That's a great idea. I wouldn't have thought about that, but that's so true. Yeah. Utilize those gun shows for or your local gun shop. If your local gun shop's going to have different scopes or optics, ask them, say, hey, can I just look through them? Because I really don't know what I want yet. Honcho out there is being a snob, saying ACOG or Night Force glass. Yeah. Like I said, for some people that a Night Force is entry level. Not for this cowboy, but it is what it is. Let's see here.
Well, something you were talking about earlier. I know people who, whenever they get into anything, whether it be, drag cars or whatever, they will go out and spend an exorbitant amount of money just to get started in it, no matter what it is. I mean, that's just what they are.
Who do you know that's into a drag bar?
Car.
Okay.
Car.
Okay.
I've heard Obies could be.
Yeah. I mean, Mike got a really odd look on his face when you said that, so I'm concerned.
I was just wondering where the conversation was turning when that
was here. Oh, so yeah. I mean, like I said, I want to kind of start telling people, the word entry level don't have to be dirty words, and especially if you're out there and you're utilizing YouTube, you're looking at Mike or Snob or Clover or whoever you watch on YouTube to maybe help you, give you some advice on some entry level things. The words entry level don't have to be, this bad thing. It's truly your first experience into something, like Clover said earlier. Go ahead.
I was just going to say you're spot on. And I think it's the great Paul Harrell that's got a couple of videos on this, but he talks about, being able to identify who you can trust, who you can't trust, and all that as far as advice. And I don't think anybody on this panel speaks in definites the vast majority of the time. But if you run across anybody that speaks in a definite and says, you've got to have this or else this, that's probably somebody you need to steer away from.
Probably so. The only thing I'd say that anybody needs, you need to get training, regardless.
Yeah. No matter what you get,
training, you need to get training. That's the only thing I'm definite about.
Yeah. Jacob has a question for the panel, so I guess we're not going to get out of here quickly as we thought. But no, it's kidding. Love it, Jacob. Which would you suggest when someone is looking for their first firearm? Something that is going to last for generations, or something for the moment? Snob, I'm going to ask you this question first. What do you think? Is anything come to mind when you think about this?
Something you can afford, and something that's going to last.
That's what he just said.
I'm saying both. You got to figure it out. I don't know what I mean, it don't have to last for generations, but you want it to last for you.
Okay. So you're saying last for generations is something better than something if we're just working right now.
I'm saying something that'll work for you for as long as you need it, not
perfect. Absolutely. Yeah. Mike, what about you? Something that's going to last, that you can pass on to generations, or someone's going to get you through the immediate need for it?
I'm all about reliability, as we talked about beforehand. But the first thing I will say is money is always going to play an issue in whatever you're going to get. So whatever your pockets can afford, go get your hands on it. Try to test fire it to see if it feels right for you. If everything feels right, by all means, pull the trigger, walk out with it. If not, save up to get whatever you want. It might be a little bit longer, but For instance, I know the Smith & Wesson that I do have, I know that's going to last for years on years, so by the time I pass it down to my daughter, her first child might end up changing the barrel out then, so, but at the same time, it's all about the preference of what you like and what you feel comfortable with.
Clover, what about you? Something that's going to last, or something you just want to last till tomorrow, or whatever?
He's already answered his question out there with Jacob. So you've already answered your question, brother. You've got a shotgun that is essentially 100 freaking years old. That is a completely utilitarian shotgun. It was not the Wilson Combat of the day. It was not the Langdon Tactical of the day, or the Course of the day. That was literally the high point of the day. That was in the Farm and Ranch store. That was, and guess what? You've got it, and you're fixing to go shoot it. So quit worrying about don't worry about is it going to last for generations. Odds are with modern machining and everything else, and if you take care of it, it's going to last for 2 or 3 generations. So don't worry about that. If you can afford it and you want it and it makes you happy, get it.
Perfect. Lance out there says, what brand of crayons are entry level? There's only one brand. I gotta go with Crayola. I mean, Crayola is what it is.
So how do you feel about the jumbo crayons? I'm just curious.
It all depends. I'm all for the jumbo crayons, especially if you're out in the field, because if you're only going to get maybe 1 or 2 meals a day out in the field, those jumbo crayons could last longer. They get more filling, even though you're only eating one, it could fill you up a little bit longer.
More calories.
I will say this: the calories are a little bit higher. Yeah. But once again, I mean, I'm all for them. But they're a little bit heavier if you're going to put them in your pocket. They're a little more bulky. But yeah, I don't mind. They're not my first choice, but I could go with the jumbo crayons.
So as far as entry level on crayons, is Rose Art the bare minimum for you, or how does that work?
I'm a crayon snob. I will not eat a crayon that's not Crayola.
Okay. Very good.
All right. Anyways, I'm getting questions, so we're gonna go Booger Dog. I'd really hate to know out of how many owning firearms that the tool can outduel the shooter on their best day. That is different from what works. Absolutely.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think anyone will disagree with that. Let's see here. Anything else out there? Okay, so basically what we're talking about is this, and I'm going to let you guys kind of close on the subject if you want, but then also talk about your stuff. So I'm going to start with Snob. And Snob, is there anything else that you want to close on the subject of entry level? If so, or if not, it makes no difference. You do what you want, but then go ahead and plug channel, shows, projects, whatever you want to do.
Buy the best that you can afford. And if you need it now, get it now. If you can save a little, if you don't need it now, save a little. Whatever. Do you. It's all up to you. Nothing anybody says matters. It just matters what you think. And let's see. Yeah, go watch my stuff if you want to. Please.
Congratulations to Snob. Snob hit the 4,000 sub mark. Was it a couple days ago? Over the weekends, maybe?
Yeah, Thursday, I think.
Thursday? Okay, congratulations, bud. I'm really happy.
I've seen somebody else hit it too. Congrats, sir.
Okay. I was going to say congratulations to Clover. He hit 4,000. I think Sarge hit 5, I think, and Mr. Big Kid's coming close on 6. So it's awesome. I think everyone's starting to kind of see their hard work paying off and all that. So, but yeah, congratulations, Snob. Go check him out. He did a review today on 3 different handgun. I'm not going to call them RMRs, but dots for handguns. Go check them out. I think you had 2 different SIGs. You had the 365 and the compact, and then what was the third gun you had?
The Canic TP9 Elite SC.
The Elite SC, right? Yeah, that's right.
That is a great entry gun. I will tell anybody that little gun is a great entry level gun.
In my video that I put out, this all came about was I put a video out, I don't know, a week or 2 ago about the best budget guns under $400, $400. Hands down, and I use the Elite, the SF Elite, because that's the one that I have. But you can get most Canics for under $400. And I will say this: I have yet to shoot or hold a Canic that hasn't been amazing. So any Canic is going to be worth its weight in gold for under $400. That's just me. I love Canic. Yeah, well done. Clover, you also hit 4,000. I'm going to go to Mike first. Mike, let people know where they can find you. I know that you've been doing a lot of competition stuff, so you're not doing as much content because you're usually shooting at the range or in competition, but tell people where they can find you, what projects you're working on, and all that stuff.
I just started a new project called Conversations, and it's just within people in the industry, just their take on life, society, and of course, firearms. I did one that's going to be released possibly tomorrow or Thursday with the owner of Jam 4 Tactical.
Nice.
I recorded one with Ken Blanchard, Black Man with the Gun podcast. And right now I'm reaching out to other people to get them in on this as well. So it's just a quick 30-minute conversation, 30, 45 minutes, talking about, like we said, life, things that's going on in society, and then, of course, firearms, what it all comes back to.
Yeah, I had Ken, and man, probably since last fall, right when he kind of announced that he was retiring from Black Man with a Gun and all that. I had talked to him probably November, early December, I guess, and I had talked to him since. How's he doing?
He's doing great. So the Black Man with a Gun podcast is back, right?
Yeah. But this, like I said, I haven't talked to him since the initial I'm retiring and not doing it. So it's been almost 9 months.
Right.
But I podcast,
Yeah. So he's back in the full swing, doing his projects and putting out the content, and he's revamping the show. So the way it's he's ringing it, he's back to his old self. But just
are you going to be back there with him a little bit every now and then?
Correct.
Good.
Yeah. So everybody else can please go to Instagram or Facebook. Look me up on Instagram at Munitions Weapons Tactical, and on Facebook just M-W Tactical, and on YouTube just M-W Tactical. If you follow me on Instagram and Facebook, that's where I put majority of the matches that I do. So about 2 or 3 times a day, I'll throw up a stage that I ran, regardless if I messed up or if I did great. I pretty much use the videos that I record myself, nothing more, for studying on how to make my movements better, or why did I do this dumb mistake that I knew better than, or something like that. But at the end, I share it with everybody, and hopefully somebody else can learn from those videos as well.
Right on. Yeah, it's always, it's great seeing you back. You've been on a few times now. It's been a while since we all kind of hung out. It's been a long minute since you weren't at SHOT this past year, so it's been a while since we saw each other. So, but it's great to have you back. You're obviously welcome anytime. Clover, congratulations on 4,000. I know that you obviously have put the work in over the years and all that, and I know that you were getting a little, maybe I don't want to say frustrated, but you were questioning things at one point, but I think it's starting to kind of pick up for you and all that. But congratulations. Let people know what you got going on project wise. If you want to do FUD Life or whatever, the podcast, you've got about 18 million things going on. So what do you want to plug?
There's no way I can talk about it all, but did drop a video today. I've been dropping on the weekends, and I thought, well, I'm going to break it up and quit dropping Saturday and Sunday. And so I dropped today. I think I'm going to regret it, because I think I get better traction and everything else when I do the weekend thing. So jump over there. Top 5 38 special revolver video dropped today. Check that out if you want to. But more tailored to the conversation tonight. Seriously, when I mentioned it earlier, I dropped one Saturday on scopes, on the parts of the scopes. What do they do?
Yes, you did.
So when you're looking at scopes, that will give you, watch that video, take some notes, and when you're looking at specifications online or whatever, you will understand what all of that means. And if you have questions, there's comments below that video. You can email me, whatever, let me know, and I'll help you out.
Yeah, that was a really good video. Let's see here. I've got I'm trying to think of who's coming up next Tuesday. Our buddy Ron Holmes from Riker USA. You guys know about the Riker grip, but he just I can show you this right here, the Riker sling.
Nice.
It's on that one. Shot a little bit this weekend. Really, really like it. Really like it. For a lot of different reasons. It's different than most slings. And I know a lot of people don't care about slings. I'm kind of particular about slings. That's why when I find a good sling, I typically run it and get multiple of them because I'm very particular about how I want to run and work that sling. But that's a great one so far. But yeah, Ron will be on next Tuesday talking about not only the grip and not only the sling, but there's a couple other projects that he'll be releasing some other stuff here in the next few months prior to Christmas and all that. But Ron will be here for sure, former Force Recon guy, and met him at SHOT this year at the SIG shoot, and we were in sister units. He was in second SRIG and I was in first SRIG. He was at Lejeune and I was at Pendleton, but we shared a lot of the same dirt and sand. And as a matter of fact, when we went into Somalia, we replaced his unit, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, cool guy, great guy, doing some really good stuff, and he'll be on next Tuesday. As far as our stuff, watch it. If it helps, great. I'm having fun doing a lot of this stuff, and it's kind of been a wild ride for me. I still don't understand what the hell's going on, but I appreciate everyone that's been watching. Keep the comments going. I love the negative comments. That it keeps me going as well. I have fun with some of them. I do. I enjoy the negative comments. Some of them are just idiocy, but they keep you on your toes. But a lot of them, it's what it is. So, but yeah, keep them coming. The comments are fantastic. But obviously, if you are enjoying it, then we appreciate you as well. But before we go, I want to. I'd be remiss to not mention. Over the weekend, last Thursday, actually, there were 9 Marines that perished in a training accident off the coast of Camp Pendleton out in the Pacific Ocean, working on an Amtrak. And an Amtrak, if you guys don't know, it goes in water and on land. I'm sure you guys can Google it, what Amtrak is, but Amtrak went down about a half mile off the coast of Camp Pendleton. And one Marine, there were several that lived. They were injured but lived. They hold about 20 to 23, depending on the model. But I think there was probably 21 or 22 on this one. Several of them lived, but there was one that immediately died, and they had a search and rescue for several days for 8 others. And by Sunday, they had called off a search and rescue. So I believe 9 is the magic number of Marines that perished. So they were part of the 15th MEU, and the 15th MEU was part of my unit at Camp Pendleton. First SRIG was the way that 11th, 13th, and 15th, and I want to say they were with 1-4 inside the 15th MEU. So all of our Marine brothers and sisters out there, we feel for you. The guys in the 15th MEU, keep your heads up. And I'll say this: I don't know if it was an older Amtrak. Those things have been built since the 70s. I don't know if it's older or not, but the government, if you're listening, if you're going to put servicemen and women, whether you're Army, Air Force, Marines, Navy, if you're going to put them in equipment and expect them to do their job, then give them the shit they need. Update their equipment. Don't make them use shit from Vietnam era. Don't make them use stuff from the 80s. If you want them to be able to do their jobs, no matter what branch you are, get them the shit they need. Spend money on the fucking military and do it right. That's just my thing. We shouldn't have accidents like this.
Yep.
That's just, we shouldn't have accidents like this. Just saying. So that's my soapbox. Thanks again for everybody for watching. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you next Tuesday with Ron Holmes from Riker USA. And we'll see you again. And thanks everyone that's watching live. I really enjoyed the conversation. Appreciate you guys as well. So, but yeah, we'll see you next Tuesday. Check us out on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. Check out Snob, Magic Mike, and Clover on all of their social media. They're doing great stuff. And we'll see you next week. Semper Fi.